Welcome to our very first Prognosticus episode here in 2025 on the Varsity Voices Media Network. The wait is over. CCL football is back, and it's time to put some predictions on the line. I'm Joe Frevaletti, and here with me is my co-host, Dan Frevaletti. And tonight we'll break down the biggest matchups, spotlight the teams with the most to prove, give you a take on who's primed to make a statement in week one. Some picks may feel bold, others may seem obvious, but that's the beauty of Prognosticus. Bold picks, fearless calls, and a little football fortune telling. The only certainty, once kickoff happens, the game has a way of writing its own script. Let's dive in and set the stage for an unforgettable opening week of Chicago Catholic League football. Dan, ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease, is a devastating illness that weakens the muscles we use to move, swallow, and breathe. Over time, it becomes fatal. On average, people live just 2 to 5 years after diagnosis. There's no cure yet, but thanks to research and clinical trials at the Les Turner ALS Center at Northwestern Medicine, we're getting closer every day. This fight is personal for me and Dan. Our brother-in-law passed away from ALS a couple of years ago. That's why I want to invite you to join the ALS Walk for Life on Saturday, September 20th at Soldier Field, hosted by Chicago's Les Turner ALS Foundation. Funds raised support their mission to provide comprehensive care for people living with ALS, their families, and to advance life-changing research. Come be part of the movement. There'll be food trucks, live entertainment, and fun for the whole family. Together, we can honor loved ones, support those battling ALS today, and bring hope for a cure tomorrow. Learn more or register now at alswalkforlife.org. Did you think we would get to this point so quickly where our Prognosticus is back?
Is back.
And I want to hear it. Did you hear anything today? Any taps, any clicks, anything on your window, that kind of thing?
No, Joe, I think I'm going to share this maybe when this episode releases, though. I got a text.
Oh,
I got a text letting me know. So yeah, he's moved on. Got a nice phone. I got a text letting me know
nice.
He's back in town, ready to work. So yeah, the clicks and the taps on the window will start tonight.
Okay.
So yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And but Dig was able to communicate his picks to me. So between he and I, we're ready to go. How about you? Did you hear anything?
No text, but
right. That would shock me if yours texted.
Right.
That'd
for
be
sure, no text.
Right.
But what I did hear today, I was sitting at my desk and looking at different pieces of information regarding the schedule and who's playing who. And all of a sudden I hear in the distance somewhere just a phone ringing. And it's not like your cell phone ringing. It's like I'm thinking that is my old landline ringing.
Like the bat phone.
Yeah. And I couldn't find it. I know I still have a landline somewhere and there's a phone hooked up to it. It never rings. And today it rang. It was buried under a bunch of like clothes and papers and all that kind of thing. So I scrambled, and I found it, picked it up, and I could just hear the faint voice of old Italian man talking in the background.
And he's back.
He's back and he's ready. I mean, I was shocked that he was ready and he remembered. So he's here. He's ready, Dan. I know yours is ready too. And, and we're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready for football.
I'm ready for football.
Been If you are looking to buy or sell a home, contact RE/MAX Realtor and Circle of Legends recipient Christopher Cobb. Let Chris's extensive negotiating experience work to guide you on all of your real estate buying and selling needs. Contact Christopher now to discuss the right strategy for your personalized real estate buying and selling plan. His number is 630-420-0070, or you can visit his website at christophercobb.com. Great weather week. It's supposed to be really nice tomorrow. I was a little worried when we got a bunch of rain last night, but I think it's supposed to be pretty nice tomorrow. Perfect weather for football. Really, compared to opening weeks past, this is great.
Oh
Like
my
you said in the
gosh.
last episode, it could be 85 to 90.
Easy.
The sun's still going to be kind of high.
Yeah.
So yeah, the players caught a break this week because I think the weather's going to be perfect.
They did. When I played, I'm sure when you played, that always puts a little bit of a skip in your step, doesn't it? When you're going
Yeah.
out there on Friday night and it's kind of a cool, crisp, maybe 68 degrees and
Yeah.
little breeze in the air, and there's a bunch of people in the stands. I mean, there's no better feeling, I think, as
No,
far as that goes.
it's the same feeling I get. I don't know what this says about me, but I'll have the same, well, more when I was playing and coaching, but it
Yeah.
felt like Christmas. It was the
Christmas.
same feeling I got. I always called this Christmas in the fall because it was kind of the same feeling, and it's exciting for everyone. Everyone's got a ton of hope, and there's the butterflies and players and coaches that probably starts after practice tonight. So
Right.
it's it's exciting, and it always is amazing to me how it takes a while to get here. It does go fast, but the season, these next 9 weeks fly.
Yeah, they do. Before you know it, you and I will be sitting there talking about the playoffs, right? But
Yeah.
yeah,
And
I
we'll
don't want
have
to go
winter
there
coats
yet. I
on.
want to enjoy
No.
this ride over the next 9 games, whatever.
That's a good lesson, Joe. Let's
Yeah.
enjoy the present. Be in the present.
Yes.
We always want to predict and who's going to do what with the playoffs. Let's enjoy it. Enjoy the ride.
I definitely.
And
want to
one
enjoy
last
it.
thing about the weather.
Yeah.
It's nice when you're coaching and you don't have to talk about the elements. They aren't a factor in the game. And you probably still have some cramping in that because early on, just getting used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. But man, last year I think we had some games
Oh
where
my
it was
gosh.
like,
I think the
10
first
or
week
12
was
cramps in
was
some of
Cramp
these games.
Central. Yes,
Yes,
for
Cramp
sure.
Central. Cramp Central Station.
Yeah, but speaking of the last practices, right? You had a chance to go out today and go to Bennett's last practice, right? Before their game against Hillcrest tomorrow. And let's tell our listeners, Dan, about what we're going to be doing this year. Not every week, but we're going to pick and choose different games throughout the year. But we're going to do our CCL Sidelines episodes, or it'll be more like shorts over the course of Friday nights. But you were out at Bennett this week and viewing their practice or looking at their practice, talking to the coach, talking to some of their captains. And we're going to be putting all that out there on our various social media sites on Friday. And it's going to be part of our CCL Sidelines shows.
Yeah, the sidelines episodes and shows are going to be great because we're going to be, we're going to be out of the office. We're going to be on the sidelines, and we will be doing our podcast, these shorts, and any updates and blitz stuff. We'll be doing it from the sidelines at the game. At least now, we'll see how if technology
we'll see how it goes.
see how technology treats us. But yeah, the plan is to be out there, and we chose Bennett for week 1. We're familiar with the surroundings, so it seemed like a good fit for us. They have a good game against Hillcrest. I don't know if it's the premier game of the week, but it should be a really good game, and it's going to be a great atmosphere. We'll be able to soak that in a little bit. We'll get feel the vibe from the students and parents and sidelines. So it's going to be fun, and we'll have some cool stuff for you during that time.
Right. And yeah, we're going to have some cool stuff with our CCL Sidelines shorts. We'll also, on Friday night, we'll still be doing our Friday Night Blitz, but a little bit different, right? So we'll be posting on social media a couple of updates, or an update probably around halftime. We'll give you a quick update regarding the scores on some of the CCL games, some of the games that are going on. And then we're going to do a summary at the end of the night, probably come out around 10:30, somewhere around there would be my guess. So those of our listeners who want to see or want to hear what the scores are for some of the other games across the Chicago Catholic League, make sure you're following us on social media, whether it's on X whether it's on Instagram, whether it's on TikTok or Facebook. And we're going to give you that. So you get in your car, you're heading home from a game, and you put us on, put that episode on, and we'll give you all the scores, right?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
if you have scores and want to share,
Oh, yeah.
don't hesitate to share with us on X. That's probably the best one, right? To do
Probably.
for this type of thing.
Yeah, you would think.
But yeah. And but if you have scores, it'll be a little different than last year. We'll kind of do more of a wrap up than kind of a follow. Feel like that makes more sense for our audience,
right?
So it's still going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of information. Make sure you're following us. Make sure you're listening to us, and we will give you all the information you could possibly want on Friday night, following Friday night Chicago Catholic League football.
All right.
Okay, so let's get into our predictions, Dan, for the first week. And as you and I have talked about, the first 2 weeks are always kind of a little bit more difficult, right? Because there's a lot more games.
A lot.
Yeah, a lot more games. There's 24 teams, as our listeners know, in the Chicago Catholic League. Some are playing each other, some are not. So there's a lot more games here that we're looking at come this Friday. There's a couple games on Saturday. I think there's actually one on Thursday as well. We've got a lot of games to talk about, predict, and we're going to break it down here. We'll do it relatively quickly, Dan, because there's a lot of teams and a lot of games we're going to be following. How do you want to do this? You want to jump in let's go division by division and go down. We'll start with the blue division. What do you think of that?
You can go alphabetical, right? Is that alphabetical then?
No. It's the blue division first.
I know, it's B, blue.
Oh, okay. What about green? Is that how the divisions are kind of spread out? Well,
I think so.
Blue, green.
Well, no, it's not, because I think size and participation wise, it's like blue, green, orange, white, purple, red.
All right, let's go by division. We'll start with the blue. What do you think?
All right. Yeah, let's do it.
All right, Brother Rice,
Here we
Dan.
Go. Who are we going to make mad at us?
Oh, you know what? I hate to do that, but we are going to make some people mad, I'm sure.
Always.
Yes.
Yeah, always. I already did.
But don't hate us. We love the Chicago Catholic League. We can't help it if we happen to pick some team that our listeners don't want us to pick, right?
Yeah. I already got booed this afternoon at Bennett because I picked St. Pat's to win the division.
Oh, yeah.
One of the coaches said, "You're dead to me."
All right.
So, all right, here we go.
Yeah, here we go. Let's go. First game is Brother Rice and Valparaiso, Dan. So Brother Rice, now this game is at Brother Rice. Brother Rice last year 6-4. Valparaiso last year 8-4. The one thing that I found interesting in looking at this game is Valparaiso's already played a game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indiana starts a week earlier.
Yeah.
Or at least they did.
Yes. Indiana starts earlier. Ohio starts earlier. Maybe Michigan. I'm not sure. So one of the things I thought of is that Illinois got to play more games, right? They got to start earlier.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Start earlier and later.
Yeah, but Valparaiso lost their first game actually last week to Penn, 21-13. They had a good year last year, but we know Brother Rice and how well they played last year. They were 6-4. Their 4 losses were really close. We had a chance to talk with or interview with CJ Gray, the quarterback for Brother Rice, and I think they're poised for a really good season, and I think this starts off well for them. And I'm going to pick Brother Rice. You know how I like to kind of give a bit of a nod when I think the teams may be even to where the game is being played at. And this is at Brother Rice. So I'm going to pick Brother Rice in this game, Dan.
Well, I'm picking Brother Rice too.
All right, good.
I think it would be Brother Rice regardless of location. I mean, Joe, doing a little deeper dive, they're loaded. They've got 4 high-level commitments already. So with
Yeah.
CJ Gray, King Liggins, Javon Green, Amir White, those last two guys are going to South Dakota State. The D-line also has Power 5 recruits that haven't committed yet. Braden Parks, Cam McGee. Offensively, Jamison Davis, CJ Gray, Jack McNamara, they're loaded. They're loaded.
Yes.
I think they're going to be really good. It's going to be great for the Blue Division. It just not that it wasn't competitive already, but they really have talent. So I'll be interested to see how that talent performs on the field. But the pick in this one is Brother Rice, and it wouldn't surprise me if it's going away a little bit.
All right, good. Yeah, so that'll be interesting. That game's at 7:00.
Yeah.
We'll be following that, right? So
yes, yeah, that'll be a good one.
yeah, so we'll be giving people the score updates, and make sure you listen to us.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's move down to probably one of the biggest games or most high profile games within the Chicago Catholic League, and that's Mount Carmel, who is traveling out to Cincinnati to play Moeller.
Yes.
Now this is a Saturday game.
Yeah.
1:00.
Do we know
Saturday.
if that's going to be on TV?
I do not know.
Regionally? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of college football. I hate that. But it's going to be a great matchup. But yeah,
it is going to be a great matchup.
Yeah.
Both. I mean, Mount Carmel. 11-3 last year, state champs, 7A level in Illinois. Moeller, 14-2 last year, although they did lose in the state championship game. Moeller has one game under their belt already. They beat Princeton 41-20 last week, so they picked up right where they left off last year. And Moeller, as always, is ranked very highly nationally.
Yeah, I've seen him number 1 in a couple places.
A couple, yes. And Mount Carmel also ranked nationally, but not as high as Moeller. So I don't know. What do you think? I thought Mount Carmel last year in their first game lost to the Hun. And I really thought that they would not want for that same kind of thing to happen this year. But I, considering the amount of talent Mount Carmel has, and I know the amount of talent Moeller has, and this game is at Moeller, I hate to do this, but I've got to go with
I
Moeller.
know where you're going. I could tell where you're going. There was a little hamina there.
I know. I hate to do it, but I've got to go with Moeller, Dan. And one of the reasons is I don't know who Mount Carmel's quarterback is. Last year they had a SEC Division I, quarterback, playing for them. This year, I don't think they have that, right? Even though they got a ton of talent everywhere else. But
yeah, it's a common theme, Joe. I couldn't believe it as I was going through. I'm like, oh, breaking in a new quarterback. That is a theme other than the white division, but this defense that's supposed to be so good and loaded with high end athletes and Division I recruits, they get a good test early on. Moeller, in their first game, I read, I think they scored all 6 touchdowns on the ground,
right,
and they dominated the trenches.
Mm-hmm.
So the front 7 will be tested with guys like Roman Igwe and Stephen Winkler at linebacker. The linebackers, they may make the difference, right? So if those lines kind of match one another and it's big on big, you're going to have an opportunity for linebackers to make a lot of plays.
Yeah.
So I think Mount Carmel's in really good shape there. I think that's going to be the difference in the game, Joe. And I'm picking Mount Carmel.
You are? Okay.
Yes. Yep.
All right. Well, good. I can't wait to watch.
Don't want those Carmelites mad at me.
Yeah, I don't want to mad at you. I know we have a friend that's a Mount Carmelite who listens to us, and he's going to be mad at me. He's going to be happy with you.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. I'll say Dan is smart.
Dan is so smart. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not me. That was my prognosticus pick.
Very good. Yeah, my prognosticus weighed in on this game as well, and he was with me on this. So,
all right.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to Saint Ignatius versus St. Louis University. Um, this game is Friday. It's at St. Louis University in Missouri, obviously. Saint Ignatius last year was 6-6 overall. I don't know if you would categorize them as a bit disappointing last year, Dan, or maybe a little bit, shocking as far as the regular season. They were 3-6. The one thing I do like about Ignatius was how they ended the season with the Prep Bowl win,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we saw who was that, Marist, the year before, who kind of did the same type of thing and then
I
came
think
back.
it was St. Rita.
St.
Wasn't
Rita,
it?
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And came back really strong. And, as far as last year is concerned, and St. Ignatius played St. Louis last year, beat them in the first game of the year. But St. Louis St. Louis University has a really good team. They were 8-5 last year as well. Made a decent run in the playoffs. I have to go with St. Louis in this game, Dan, just because I'm giving the nod to them due to where the game is at,
Okay.
which is at St. Louis. So
Home field advantage. You're like the NFL.
I am. I'm a lot like the NFL. If they're
Well,
listening, I'm willing to do predictions for them
yes,
as well.
there you go.
Yes.
The offense is going to be entirely new. I mean, almost.
Yes.
They bring back Omar Sadan, and they have some great pieces defensively. We talked about Connor Heights was a dog finalist last year. One of their defensive backs, and I know the coaches love him. And they love Connor Wanzung also in the defensive backfield. But this is a test early on.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't talked about it this year. I talked about it a ton last year. St. Ignatius runs the option. They run it to perfection. They run it from the time they walk in the door. I think that alone gives a lot of teams fits. And I think they beat this team. They beat St. Louis University last year pretty handily.
Right.
And maybe not by as big a score as this year, but I still have St. Ignatius pulling this out because I just think it's so hard to prepare for, and St. Louis, have they played a game yet?
I don't believe
so. I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so they have had time to prepare, but it's really hard to do this in practice, to prepare for this style of offense. I don't know if their conference, if they have other teams that do that, but I think it's going to give St. Louis University fits. I still think they're big and physical. They've had good lower levels. So my pick is for St. Ignatius.
Okay. All right. So last team in the blue division is Loyola, and they are traveling to Maryville, Indiana, to play Maryville High School. So we all know Loyola won the state championship last year, 12-2. The one thing that I was looking at is, you remember this, I'm sure, Dan, but last year when we were so looking forward to the Loyola East St. Louis game was the first game of the year. And Loyola just got blown out, right?
Yeah.
One of the things in reading a little bit about Maryville is they kind of remind me a little bit of East St. Louis, right? But from Indiana. I mean, they've got a ton of talent. Their quarterback, now they played a game already this year,
right?
Scored over 40 points. Their quarterback threw for over 250 yards. They had somebody rush for over 130 yards. They spread the ball around. I'm a little concerned for Loyola here, especially traveling to Maryville. How are you feeling about this?
Really interesting game. I mean, Maryville's got state championship aspirations, and they kind of pounded Andrian last week.
Right.
They have that running back, Jaquarius Johnson for Maryville. He's a Division I prospect. He's a stud. And they've got Cam Jordan as a primary receiving threat. Like Loyola, they're young. But the game's going to be really interesting. Loyola is going to be led by their defense early on. Gavin King, Kia Calcutt. They've got some guys back that were difference makers on the defensive side of the ball. I'm really interested to see who gets more reps at quarterback. Both are more than capable.
Right.
Junior Don Maloney or sophomore Matthew Lee. But with that inexperience, I'm picking Maryville.
Yeah.
So it is it's a tough pick, but I think Loyola, like last year, might take a week or two to get their feet under them.
I think you're right. I really do. And the one thing that concerns me a little bit here is, the team speed for Maryville is, like I said, very similar to what East St. Louis had last year. And I think, them having a game under their belt already and, accompanied with, some of the speed that Loyola is going to be facing in game one here that maybe they might not quite be ready for, in game one. I'm going to pick Maryville as well, Dan.
So you have 3 of the 4 blue division losing.
Hey, everybody out there. I know you're fans of mine now, aren't you?
Yes. Let's the sideline invites won't be coming from the blue division anytime soon.
No, they will not. No CCL sideline episodes in the blue division this year, unfortunately.
Hey, we've got to call it like we see it, right? Our thoughts on the Catholic League are well documented. We think it's one of the best conferences in football, but what kind of credibility would we have if we just went down the line picking all Catholic League?
Yeah, we can't always do that, right?
Right.
All right. So,
but you are tracking this, right?
Oh, for sure, I'm tracking.
All right. Yes. Okay.
So speaking of all Catholic League, Dan, we're moving to the Green Division, and this game for game one, it could be, one of the bigger games of the year right away in game one, and St. Rita and Marist, right?
Yeah.
Marist last year, great season, 9-2. Only losing in the playoffs to the eventual state champ Loyola. St. Rita, 10-3 last year. They lost to the state champs, Mount Carmel in the playoffs. This game is at Rita. One of the things I like about Rita here is, I feel like they're bringing back some key players in key positions, like the quarterback, wide receiver position. Yeah, and I think Rita is really poised to make a big run this year. Actually, I think in one of our previous episodes, they were one of the teams I picked that could be undefeated this year, at least through conference play. But I like Rita in this game. It's at Rita, and I'm going to go with them, Dan.
All right. Well, I picked Marist. Excuse me. I picked Marist to as one of the teams that could go undefeated.
Right.
And I'm going to go against that week one. So I'm picking St. Rita here, right, Joe, as well. I think Armbruster to Jones might be the difference here. That experienced. And don't forget, there's going to be a sprinkle, maybe more than a sprinkle of Donovan Evans there as well. Defensively, Owen Lynch is someone that we've heard a ton about this summer. I'm anxious to see what it looks like with him kind of as the marquee guy on defense for them. And Marist has to replace a lot of players. And while they have studs up front in Rico Schreiber and Danzel Newell, we don't quite know what they'll look like offensively. We know they like to, the coach likes to throw the ball, likes to have athletic quarterbacks. They're going to have a strong running game. I think with Kevin Bartolotta, I think he's kind of a big dude back there, tough to bring down. And then we'll learn about Luke DeTemple, the quarterback, and see what that's like. I think we saw a little bit of him last year at certain times, but it's an early game, Joe, that's going to go down to the wire. My guess is St. Rita comes out on top in a close, but gets the statement win here.
Yeah. Okay, good. And that would be a huge statement, wouldn't it? First game of the year for them.
Definitely serve notice for sure.
It would serve notice.
Yeah. Either way.
Yeah.
Right? If Marist were to come out and win, same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. All right, so let's move to the next game in the Green Division. That's IC against St. Mary's Southside. So this was these two teams played last year. You remember the scenario where IC had their game one and the team
Right.
backed out at the last minute,
Yes.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
they scrambled and found St. Mary's Southside, who I believe is in Missouri, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and went out to play them out there, and they ended up beating them. But it was in overtime. It was a closer game than a lot of people thought it might be. But nobody knew anything about St. Mary's Southside. Now, IC last year they went 4-5. We've talked about if they missed the playoffs. Last year St. Mary's went 4-7. They also missed the playoffs in Missouri. This year, St. Mary's is coming to IC, right? And I think IC last year, I feel like there were all these circumstances, starting with their game one, that kind of
Right.
threw them off right at the
Yeah.
beginning of
No,
the
I
season.
totally agree.
Yes.
Totally agree. You feel
And
like you're constantly playing catch up.
yes, and they never recovered, I feel like. They had a couple, a game or two where they played real well, but IC Catholic has got to replace their quarterback. But I think with the level of talent that they have, and they're playing at home. I think they're going to be able to pull this game out. So I'm going to pick IC in this game, Dan.
Yeah, I'm picking IC too. I think
Okay.
I read, Joe, did we talk about Foley Calcagno? We talked about him last year,
We talked about him last year, but we have not talked about him this year as of yet. But
and he's a stud. He's a big time player. He's going to take a bigger role this year. I think on both sides of the ball. They don't have great numbers, so to play their better players, in more often makes sense. But he's a good one. Going to be carrying the football. But they're still gonna have young guys that have to do a lot of things, and inexperienced guys. But it's a good game to start with. I think it's probably a little easier road for IC this year, and my pick is for IC.
yeah, okay.
I don't know if you can hear Zuko. Joe Zuko is chiming in too. He likes that pick.
Yeah,
But he wants to get out. So
yeah,
I'm going to slide over and let him out.
he's ready for the season, for sure.
He's ready.
Yes,
He's ready to make his pick. Yes,
and he's ready to make some presentations too.
Maybe that's a sign for Foley Calcagno.
Right.
Zuko perked up and wanted to.
Oh, that is really good.
Maybe that's a sign. Could be.
In our last episode, and go listen to it, we predicted who maybe the first Zuko's Dog of the Week winner might be, but Foley's name did not come up, but maybe Zuko just weighed in.
Probably should have. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah. But my pick's IC as well, John.
Okay, yeah, and talk about good games. The next one, Dan, Nazareth and Kankakee again.
Oh yeah.
Kankakee last year 10-2, Naz 12-2 last year, state champs. Both teams ranked in the top 5 in each of their classes this year in the preseason rankings. So, and they've traded wins and losses over the last several years too in this first game. So, I think that one of the things that when I was looking at this game is, I'm wondering who Naz is going to, who they have to replace Logan Malachuk, right?
Yeah.
I know they have a couple of options there, but again, like we talked about earlier, another team, really good team that's got to replace one of their top players, and it's at the most key position of quarterback, right?
Yeah.
We know they've got a ton of talent, at other positions. So, I'm interested to see, how that kind of plays out, especially in this first game. This is going to be a real test for Naz.
Yeah, I think so as well. And it's funny. I feel like Naz has had kind of a low key off season.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's because they graduated, Malachuk and other guys that have been 4-year starters. and just we're almost household names in the high school football world. But they're still really, really loaded with talent.
Yeah.
Starting with the wide receivers, Trenton Walker and Jake Sestone.
Right.
They also have good players up front, returning players. There's a Malachuk on the team, but he's an offensive lineman. Along with all name player Luke Injaychuk.
That's a
I
good
don't know
one.
if I'm saying that right. Isn't that a good one? I
Yeah.
love that name.
It's a good name.
Yeah. Defensively, I really liked Chris Caskey as a junior. I thought he jumped out on the film when we watched them. Coach Racky has talked to us about Johnny Cologne for a couple years now, and so they do have some experience. It's not like the cupboard is bare. But
right.
Kankakee is a great matchup. They've got a new coach, who's defensive-minded coach. Their defensive coordinator is now the head coach. They have to replace some key players, but I think defensively they're going to be really good. Joe, I think I'm going out on a limb here a little bit, and I'm going to pick Kankakee.
You are? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not going to go out on that same limb with you, Dan.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm going to pick Nazareth here.
I like it. We have a lot of different picks so far.
Right. Yeah, I know this is going to be a really good game, and I can't wait to watch it. But
I feel like it's been every year.
It's is.
It's been a barn burner. I think. I don't know if it was last year.
It was last year.
Was it okay?
Let's see. I was trying to think. I think the score was a 1 touchdown win for Naz last year.
Okay,
but then the year before,
a couple years.
Year before, Kankakee beat them, right, in the first game of the year. So, yeah, it's going to go back and forth. It's probably going to be a barn burner, and it's a toss up as your and my picks. What word am I looking for?
Reflect.
Reflect. Good word. Yes.
Thank you.
All right. So we will move on to St. Francis and Kenwood. And St. Francis, we know last year had a really good year, 10-3. And they played Kenwood last year in the first game of the year. And they beat them, but it was a close game. They beat them by 6 points, right?
Yeah.
Now, Kenwood didn't have, quite the year that St. Francis had last year. 6-7. They had a pretty good run in the Prep Bowl, as far as that was concerned. But, I know this game is at Kenwood. I believe this game is on Thursday, Dan. Today.
So as we record this.
Yeah. I mean, that's what the schedule showed. We'll
I know they've got space concerns in the public league, so they do schedule things, starting Thursday night through sometimes Sunday, I think.
Yeah, so we may have a score as early as tonight sometime for this game. So we'll take a look at that, but. I'm going to pick St. Francis for this game, Dan. They've got a ton of talent. Another team's got to replace their quarterback again, but I think what they have in the running game and what they have in the receiving and their wide receivers, I think they just have too much talent and now experienced talent as well that I think they're going to be too much for Kenwood to handle.
Yeah, the wide receiving core is awesome.
It's unreal.
At St. Francis. Yeah. I mean, we talked a lot about Mount Carmel's receiving core. There's several good ones. Well, we've already said the wide receiver position is just loaded in this league, but this group as a team is as good as anybody. Zach Washington, Dario Milivojevic, Tanner Glock, all studs.
Yeah.
We'll see how that young O-line led by Brady Hill stacks up this year.
Yeah.
And defensively, I really liked James McGrath last year in the secondary or the linebacker. Who might be kind of one of those hybrid positions. He's a really good one. Jalen Torres is a beast, lineman of the year in the division last year, and he's back. So I look for them to lean on the running game early because we don't know what their quarterback situation is.
Right.
See how that shakes out. But my pick is also going to be for St. Francis.
Okay. All right. Good. So we're in agreement on that one.
Yep.
So now we move to the Orange Division. We already talked about Marist and St. Rita, right? But let's talk about Joliet Catholic and Lions. Now, this is a really interesting game to me. We know what Joliet Catholic did last year, but one of the things I'm looking at is, what Joliet Catholic was able to do last year in getting to the state championship game, but losing to Nazareth. They did it with a lot of seniors. And we had a chance to talk with Ian Campbell, defensive end for Joliet Catholic. And I think he said they lost 32 seniors from
Yeah,
last year's team.
yeah,
I don't
quite
know
a
how
class.
I don't know how you replace that. I really don't. I mean,
Yeah,
they've got their quarterback coming back in Lucas Similik, but I think for game one, and I know this game is out at Joliet Catholic tomorrow, but taking on a Lions team that last year I think was 11-1. I mean, they essentially ran the table until they got to the playoffs, and I think they had state championship aspirations, and I think they still do this year as well. And I have a hard time seeing how Joliet Catholic is kind of able to stack up in this game. So, I'm going to pick Lions in this game, Dan.
yeah. JCA has to replace a ton.
Yeah.
It's well documented, but they've got a system there and a formula that works. Ian Campbell is one of what might be several two-way players. Maybe it sounds like a little bit. He
Mm-hmm.
kind of hinted that there might be some more guys doing that. I'm looking to see if Lucas Similik and Jaden Armstrong is a quarterback wide receiver connection that we see a little more of maybe this year because both are experienced. Maybe Joliet Catholic throws the ball a little bit. They might have to because LT's calling card is defense,
Yeah.
and that's their strength. And this feels like the Joliet Catholic Oswego game last year, where Oswego was almost kind of beat them at their own game, and I feel like that's going to be the case this year. So, Joe, I'm also picking Lions. I think this Joliet Catholic team might not be the Joliet Catholic team we see in week 7 or 8. They might look a lot different.
Yeah. Ian might be a little upset with us, Dan.
Yeah, he's going to come and shove you in your closet.
Right, for sure. I'm going to keep all the doors locked for
Yeah.
a couple of weeks here. Yeah.
Yeah, especially if they win, right? We both
Oh
have
my
probably have to
gosh,
put
yes.
bolts on the door.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's go to the Providence Catholic Wheaton Academy game, Dan. And what do you have here? What are you seeing?
It's a great test for both these teams. They both have done. Wheaton Academy's done a ton of winning the last few years.
They have.
Both teams though will have a lot of new faces. Providence is gonna be led by on the skill position side by Xavier Coleman and Braden Mackert. I'm interested to see in what they're going to do at quarterback. Does this sound familiar? It's like every other team we talk about.
Right.
Leo Slepsky got got starts last year, but we know they have other players coming in and up the pipeline who might be chomping at the bit for quarterback. I think this is going to be a great one with two really good programs that both need a win right away. So that conference is good. Underrated conference, the Chicago Christian Conference.
Yeah.
But my pick, Joe, is for Providence.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Providence as well. I know Providence last year had a tough year, missing the playoffs. And Wheaton Academy had a really good year, going 9-2. I don't know if that was a surprise or not, but they had a lot of talent on that team. But one thing I looked at was that if there, when Wheaton Academy did last year play a Chicago Catholic League team, they lost to St. Lawrence in the playoffs, right?
Yep.
So I think the talent level, even though Wheaton Academy has a ton of talent, I just think it's a notch better in the Chicago Catholic League. And I think Providence, as you and I have talked about, we know some of the players they have coming up, some of the players they have coming back, and I think they've really been pointing to this year. So I think they get off to a big start here, and I'm going to pick Providence as well.
Okay.
All right.
Two of the same.
Two of the same, yes. So next we have Notre Dame and Washington, Dan. Notre Dame with new head coach Dan DeFranza. Again, a team last year that didn't have a great year. 4-7 last year. Washington, which is downstate Illinois, right?
Yeah,
Somewhere
Central Illinois.
Central Illinois. Yeah. You would know that better than I would. You're Mr. Geography. Yeah.
Mr. Illinois Geography.
Right. Now, Washington had a good year last year, 8-3 last year.
They're good.
The one thing, and you know how I try and do this, I try and look at, A to B to C to D. So last year, even though Washington had that good year, they did lose big to Kankakee last year, which, there's no shame in that because Kankakee is a really good program. But, I tried to take that and kind of correlate it to the Chicago Catholic League or Notre Dame, but, I still couldn't come up with a way, where Washington is able to beat Notre Dame at Notre Dame, which is where this game is at. So I think the atmosphere there, and we've mentioned this before,
it's a good one.
It's so good. And for the first game of the year, new head coach, we know they have some
fired up
players that are coming up, that we've been watching for, or that we watched last year, and we think they're going to be better than they were last year. So I'm going to pick Notre Dame in this, Dan.
Okay. Well, we differ here, Joe, because Washington, as you mentioned, they're Central Illinois power. They've won a tough conference for a couple years in a row. They return a big group of seniors. I think they might be poised for big things.
Okay.
They have struggled in the past with out-of-conference opponents. So ND has a new staff in place. I think it should be a great game. It would not surprise me, if if the Washington coaches really made this a big deal as part of their preparation. They probably feel pretty comfortable they're going to get to 5 wins. They're going to want to make a statement against the Chicago Catholic League team. Notre Dame is rebuilding maybe on the fly with, you could say, with longtime assistant Dan DeFranza now as the head coach. They're still going to be defensive minded. Got a stud linebacker, Alex Watulowicz, good DB, Ryan Cisneros. Offensively, I loved Troy Nightingale last year. And I think I looked on the roster. He's up to 180 pounds. I don't think he was that big last year.
No.
I felt like he was kind of a wisp of a player, but you could see the talent there. But I'm going based on experience, Joe. So I think my pick is for Washington in this game.
Okay. All right. We differ again. Yeah.
All right.
I think we're differing more this year than we did last year. For sure.
I think I was like 22 out of 24 Catholic League teams winning last year.
Right. All right. So that's the orange division. Now we move to the purple, and we've got St. Viator and Marian Catholic. And I know you talked about in our last episode, Dan, that you kind of like Marian this year. I think you picked them to win this division, right?
Yeah. I don't think they're getting enough love, Joe, plain and simple.
Yeah.
They return a bunch of players from a team that got better as the season progressed. Nick Lopez, does a great job. They bring back all-conference stud Gavin Neal. They also have Owen Askren at quarterback and some weapons on the skill side.
Right.
So they were probably my runner-up as surprise team of the year, for this year. So, but yeah, I feel like I missed this game. Shame on me for not noticing. But St. Viator's I think they have a narrative right now where it's Robbie Gold, Robbie Gold, Robbie Gold. I know they'd like to change that and put it back on the players, but they've got to replace so much production from last year. So there's so much unknown for them going into the season. Hopefully we get a chance to talk a little bit more about the players, rather than the coach. Not that I wouldn't love to have Coach Gold on, but you know what I mean. And but I'm sticking with my Marian Catholic, surprise team here and picking them to win this game.
Yeah, and I'm going to agree with you on this, Dan. I just think the you know, I think the cupboard is probably a little bit bare at St. Viator. They lost some really good talent last year, and
Yeah, they've
even
lost a lot.
even with that talent, they didn't have a great season. Now Marion did not have a good season last year as well, but like you mentioned, I think they're bringing back some really key players in key positions, and they are going to have some experience and some talent. And I think that's going to show for them this year, and they're going to have a better year than they did last year. And I think that starts with game one. I'm going to pick Marion as well.
Yeah, it'd be good for the red division too. I don't, hate to see that again for St. Viator, but the red needs some signature wins here, and this kind of would be an early one for Marion Catholic.
It would, yeah. All right, so another CCL matchup in our next game here, and that's
Yeah,
DePaul Prep and Fenwick.
good one.
Obviously, DePaul Prep state champs last year, 4A, 11-3, great season. We had a chance to interview and talk with Coach Passarella a couple of weeks ago, and I think from a standpoint of talking to him, he's ready. I know they lost a lot of good players, but I really think they are just reloading. And I just got the sense in talking to him, Dan, that he was kind of holding his cards kind of close to his vest. That they've got some. I mean, we know some of the talent they have returning, but I think, in some of the key spots like quarterback and some of the other areas where there's maybe a question mark, because of graduation of some really good players last year. He didn't say too much in regards to that, but I think they're going to be very talented again. I think he's building a really good program there. Obviously, Fenwick had a great season last year. I was looking at their record last year, so they were 8-3. I think their three losses, were a combined total by 10 points. That was it.
Yeah,
As far as the losses last year. But when you think about, I feel like last year watching Fenwick, they were, when you talked Fenwick last year, you talked about their defense. And, two of the big cogs in that defense were Nate Marshall and Jack Paris. They're both gone. Obviously Tommy Thies is still there, and we talked to him. But I don't think they're going to have enough to hold off DePaul, and I'm going to have to go with DePaul in this game.
All right. Well, it's a red letter game for sure, and there's a few of them this week, and this is one that is a highlight game for the week. We think Fenwick has a great chance to do some cool things this year, and DePaul has to replace some key players, but without a doubt, they are a team on the rise. And I think you're right. I think Coach Passarella was kind of like, all right, you'll see. Just wait. He was obviously great with us, but yeah, close to the vest is a great way to describe what he's thinking about his team. Fenwick definitely has the experience with the edge. Jamin Williams returning along with Raphael Stewart, wide receiver. That's an experienced connection. The Thies brothers, sounds like they're going to both have roles on both sides of the ball. So, we know that even with losses to graduation, their defense is going to be tough.
Yeah.
It's kind of their identity. DePaul has a new quarterback, but last time I checked, Matt Osterman is still there, and he's a stud. He is a playmaker. So you got to find a way to get him the ball, and all should be good. They've got, big Carlos Rios on the offensive line, so it's not an entirely new group.
Right.
But that said, I'm going to differ with you, Joe. I'm going to pick Fenwick in this one.
You are? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good. Boy, we are going to have an interesting weekend, Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah, watching these games and seeing how we do. Okay, so let's move on to St. Pat's versus Yorkville. And St. Pat's, I think, is your pick to surprise this year, right, Dan?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Tell me what you think about this game then.
I said it when the schedules came out, or when we did our analysis of the schedules, and I love the scheduling for St. Pat's,
Yeah.
but not because it's easy. Yorkville was 4-5 last year. They return a lot. leading the way. They've got a really good running back, T.J. Hartland, transfer from Mount Carmel.
Oh,
So
okay.
he was a quarterback when he was at Mount Carmel, but he was kind of a running quarterback. Really physical player with experience, and he's primed for a big season. St. Pat's, as we've discussed, they've got a big, experienced O line led by David Fullerashno, Eli Valencia, and Connor Maynock.
Yeah, they're going to be
We'll have
big.
to see what their defense looks like,
Yeah.
But given that is Zibikowski's side of the ball as a college player in NFL, I'm thinking that might be a strength. I think it's going to be a close game. And since St. Pat's is my surprise team pick of the year, I'm going with the Shamrocks.
All right. Yeah, it's at Yorkville. Does that matter?
Yeah. Not to me. Not this week.
All right.
I've never been. It does matter, Joe, in some cases.
Yes.
We talked about Notre Dame, Nazareth, Marist are the three that really jump out as home field advantages. But I don't know what Yorkville's like, and so I can't give it to them based on that.
Yeah. And you've convinced me about St. Pat's, Dan. I mean, I looked at them and I thought, I'm not sure. They were 2-7 last year. It took them a while to get to a point where I felt like they even had things kind of put together, but they've got a new coach this year in Zibikowski.
Yeah.
And I think, he's got enough talent coming back, and I think they're going to be strong up front, obviously, with their offensive line. I think their defensive line as well. And I think he's going to lean into that. I would if I were him.
Yeah.
Although he's a way better coach than I would ever be. But so I'm, I think he's going to want to make a big statement or make a statement in the first game of the year this year. Yorkville, they've got some talent, but I don't think they're going to be able to hang with the talent that St. Pat's has and the size that St. Pat's has. So I'm going to go with St. Patrick as well in this game.
Okay.
All right. So the last game in the purple division is Bennett versus Hillcrest. And you were out at Bennett today, Dan, because we've got our CCL Sideline show coming up on Friday. And, you had a chance to talk with the coach, watch a little bit of practice, talk with some of the players. What are your feelings about Bennett this year and about Bennett versus Hillcrest?
Well, another team with a new quarterback.
Right.
It's Ben Clevenger is the starter. So he's a senior. He played defense last year. So he's a tough kid. I think he might be one of these guys that ends up doing some damage with his feet as well. He's got to find a way to get Luke Doyle the football. I think Luke's kind of there's the special player there, and can really change a game, when he gets his hands on the ball. So you got to find a way to get him the ball. They've got a couple guys up front that are big guys. Jack Sortino, who I talked to a little bit today. Alex McGarrigle. God, what am I? Alex McDermott. Sorry, Alex McDermott, and two good old linemen that should give some room to whomever gets the carries. Hillcrest though is no pushover by any stretch. Bennett won big last year, but they've got a Purdue commitment, Max Carmichael, who is likely to see time on both sides of the ball. He's recruited as a defensive end, but he's 6'7". He's 6'7", 220, 225. Wow. Okay. So he's going to be tight end where he's a big target for Anthony Bradley, who is a returning quarterback, and he is a handful. He's a playmaker. He can move. He can get the ball out quickly. They've run a nice offense for him, or that's designed, I think, based on his skills. That said, my pick is for Bennett, Joe, this year. I think they return enough. I think Luke Doyle is going to be the difference in this game. So the pick is for Bennett.
Okay, yeah, and the turnover at the quarterback position, I think maybe it's going to take a little bit for Bennett to kind of get into a certain rhythm this year. And I feel like I said the same thing last year about them, and they went out and just beat Hillcrest, but that was with an experienced quarterback and a very talented quarterback.
Yeah.
This year I think it's probably going to take a couple of weeks for them to get in a groove, and I feel like with Hillcrest and some of the returning players they have, especially at the quarterback position and running back and receiver as well, I think it may be a little bit too much for Bennett in game one, Dan. So I'm going to pick Hillcrest in this game. Don't
they got to let us on the field tomorrow, right?
don't tell anybody. Yeah, I'll be denied my entrance, won't I?
Yeah, right. You better get a ticket.
Okay, yeah, I will. I'll buy a ticket. Fine. Yeah. All right.
All right.
Yes. And for those of you who don't know, Dan and I are both Bennett alums, right? So
Yes.
it's hard for us to pick against Bennett at any
Right.
point. Yeah.
But we do when we have to.
We do.
Right?
Yes.
We do.
Yeah.
We don't sugarcoat it for the Red Wings.
No, we do not. All right, so let's go to the Red Division, Dan, in Marmion and Oak Forest. Marmion 5-5 last year, back in the playoffs for them. Oak Forest 7-4 last year, had a pretty good season. Although they did lose to Marmion in the first game of the year last year, and Marmion's another one of those teams which is a bit of a mystery to me, but the thing that I keep coming back to, Dan, is I feel like their quarterback play this year is probably going to be a little bit better than it was last year, and I think they probably have, some good talent, the same amount of talent at some of the other skill positions and up front as well. And I think, but I do think the quarterback play is going to make a difference. I know it's only a sophomore, but he really impressed me, Magana, last year when he came in and played at the varsity level as a freshman. Poised, throws a nice ball. Seems to have a good command of the offense. I think that's going to bode well for him and for Marmion this year. And I'm gonna go with Marmion over Oak Forest.
Yeah, Joe, my pick is Marmion as well. I think they can lean on their offensive line a little bit. Magana is going to be QB from day one, which he wasn't last year.
Right.
Colin McHenry is back. He's a two-way player and a difference maker on both sides of the ball. Look for Michael Harris, the offensive lineman, to kind of dominate in this game. So I think Marmion has the edge here. Oak Forest has some solid returnees from a 7-4 team, I think they have some aspirations to win their conference this year, but I don't think they have enough to stick with Marmion in week one.
Yeah. Okay. And what about De La Salle Revis, Dan?
There's not a lot out there about these teams, right? A little bit of a struggle. We know the story. We like Coach Blackman. We've had him on our podcast. I think he does a really good job. I hope they surprise us this year. I think Revis struggles a little bit traditionally. Yeah. So, you'd love to see De La Salle start off for those guys who missed half their season last year. We'll learn more about them as we go, and what they look like from a personnel standpoint. But I am going to pick them this year.
Yeah,
I really want them to come out strong in this season, and so I'm gonna pick De La Salle.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick them too. I'm going to, like you said, when we interviewed Coach Blackman last year, I really liked him and what he was trying to get in place at De La Salle. I know last year was tough for them, but I also believe what he said in regards to some of the underclassmen. I think they're going to be young, right? But he felt like he had a really good group of underclassmen, and I'm hoping that they kind of step up this year and give some other teams a little bit of notice that, hey, we are on our way back. We're a program that hopefully is going to continue to grow here, and I think they they get a win here in their first game against Revis. So I'm picking De La Salle as well.
All right.
All right, and then we've got the other Leo and Dunbar, Dan. So Dunbar last year was 3-5. Leo was 1-8. Another team that had a tough year last year. They've got new head coach, another new head coach. It's Theo Hopkins at Leo this year. I think this game is on Saturday. It's at Dunbar. And I think Leo, even though they lost probably their most talented players from last year's team, I think they had a pretty good base of other players, and their numbers aren't very big, obviously, but I think they're going to have enough here to get by Dunbar, and I'm going to pick Leo in this game.
Yeah, same with me, Joe. I think their talent level will show a bit of improvement. I think Dunbar's probably behind Leo in terms of talent. A name that we said last year who is back for Leo is Derek Davis.
Yeah.
Defensive lineman. So I would imagine he can make a difference this week. And my pick is for Dunbar.
Okay. All right, good. So that's the red division. We covered Marian Catholic and St. Viator already. So we move on to our last division. That's the white division, one of our favorites, Dan.
Yeah, always competitive, and we
always
won't
competitive.
other than St. Lawrence. Not even really. We will know the name, but we will know the names of all four quarterbacks in this division.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And speaking of St. Lawrence, St. Lawrence, another new head coach, Pat Swanson. They take on King on Friday at St. Lawrence. King, always good program in the public league. This I think they were 7-4 last year. Lawrence,
one of the better public league schools.
One of the better public league schools. St. Lawrence 8-4 last year. We know they lost some key talent, but I think I think their cupboard is far from bare at St. Lawrence, and I think they're ready to reload this year. And I know Coach Swanson probably wants to make a big statement in game one, his first game as head coach there. So I'm going with St. Lawrence in this game.
Joe, I'm saying Coach Swanson gets his first victory as well this week. And a player we haven't talked about enough is Corey Less.
Oh, yes.
For St. Lawrence.
Yeah.
He's a great athlete. Yes. I think he's a baseball first guy, but he's a great athlete, physical running back, capable of controlling a game. We don't necessarily know what their offense will look like, but he'll be a two-way player. I think they're going to have a stingy defense under Coach Swanson, who focused on that role while he was at Mount Carmel as a DB coach. Sean Rice, another stud linebacker who will likely get some dog consideration at some point this year.
Yeah.
And we saw Jimmy McDermott, not a lot, but their quarterback was out several weeks last year.
Right.
Which really hurt them as a team. But anyway, Jimmy McDermott seems to be the quarterback. He's an athletic quarterback, I think, as well. So that bit of experience, I think, will help him. And while King is one of the better public schools from the Chicago Public League, they won't have enough against St. Lawrence.
Right.
So like I said, Coach Swanson and St. Lawrence get the victory this weekend.
Okay. Yeah. And so next game, which I find really kind of fascinating from a scheduling standpoint, is Montini against Lumen Christi Catholic. Right.
Yep.
Obviously, Montini 12-2, state champs last year. Lumen Christi from Michigan, right?
Yep.
13-1, and they won the state championship as well. So, what was Montini thinking scheduling this game?
Bring it on.
Bring it on.
That's what they're thinking. Bring it on. Yeah.
Yeah, and when you think about it, even though Montini lost a lot of really good players off that outstanding defense last year, I think their offense, obviously led by Izzy Abrams, their quarterback. They've got CJ Harkins at wide receiver. They're going to rotate some running backs in as well. So the talent is going to be there for Montini. the talent level at Lumen Christi is outstanding as well. So, I hate to say this game is a toss-up because I love Montini, but I feel like this game is a toss-up, Dan.
Yeah. Joe, it's funny. I had the same thing written down. I'm like, toss up.
Yeah.
Will you let me get away with that?
But guess what? Where's the game at?
Joe, I am with you on this
All
one.
right.
I didn't mention Montini as a home field advantage, and that's a mistake because
Yes.
that is a home field advantage.
Yes, for sure. And I think that may be the thing that makes a difference here, along with, I'm thinking Izzy Abrams, another year under his belt of experiences, and that's going to show itself too in this game. So I'm going to go with Montini, Dan. I'm riding the Bronco in game 1 here.
All right. Joe, it is another clash of the Titans. Like we talked about, Mount Carmel Moeller gets a lot of press, but this is, like you said, 2 state champions, from good football states coming together. And they're similar teams when you really look at them. When you do a little digging, Lumen Christi's a smaller school in a tough Catholic conference near Jackson, Michigan. Yeah. Like you said, they won the state championship, but it's like the same paragraph. You could flip it and put Montini in there, and it's like the same thing. The difference is they're kind of mirror images of one another. I was reading about Lumen Christi, and they return a ton on defense, but they lost, if not everyone, 10 out of 11 on offense. Yeah. So they're breaking in a new offense. Mm-hmm. Montini should be humming on offense, and it might be their defense that looks to have to catch up to the offense. But for this game, I think that's a good spot to be in.
Right.
For Montini, it's the hardest pick of the week for me. I'll be anxious to hear about this game. Can't wait to follow it. But I'm going with the home field advantage here for Montini.
Okay.
And that's why I'm picking the Broncos. I also am riding the Bronco.
Riding the Bronco. All right. Good.
Yep. Getting back on.
All right.
Going to be a little sore Saturday.
Right. Yeah, it's been a while since you've rode the Broncos, so you are going to be a little sore Saturday.
Yeah.
All right, next game, Carmel and Grays Lake Central. Carmel, tough season last year, 4-7. Did not make the playoffs. Grays Lake Central, as well had a relatively difficult year last year, 4-5 last year. Carmel beat Grays Lake Central in the first game last year, and I think they're going to do that again this year, Dan. We had a chance to talk with Trey Taylor, the quarterback for Carmel, and I believe Trey as well when he said that they've got a ton of talent, and led by him, obviously, but
sure,
some of the wide receivers and the running backs that they have coming back. I think everything's kind of been set up for them for this year, for them to make this run, and I think they make a statement in week 1 against Grays Lake Central, and I think they win this game and win this game big.
Yeah, I have the same thing, Joe. They played last year. Carmel won handily. Which is what I'm expecting this year. You mentioned some of the other talent other than Trey Taylor. Kai Owens is definitely a college wide receiver, so they're going to be really dangerous as a tandem. Defensively is what I'm anxious to see on Carmel, and they lost a lot of guys. They get Nick Hopman back, who's a really nice player defensively, and they've done a really good job with their lower levels. So, like you said, I think they've got kind of reload mentality at Carmel for the next few years at least, and I think they win this game pretty handily.
Okay, well that's our games, Dan. I mean, the last one we've already covered, Fenwick and DePaul Prep in the White Division. So,
did we start 4 hours ago?
Let's see. We have got an hour and 13 minutes in.
Ooh,
not
chatty,
bad, but we are
not
chatty.
Bad. It's a lot to cover.
It is a lot to cover, and it won't be quite as long going forward. Next week will be, but
one more week.
One more week. So listeners, hang with us and keep listening, right? Because we bring you the really good information, the information you want, need, and want to hear, right?
Yeah, our prognosticus, Joe, must have been like fighting, with the different picks.
Yes.
I think they were scrapping a little bit on their. I picture them flying back from Florida, like, getting annoyed with one another. They're kind
we
of
got to go
getting
back.
annoyed and
Yeah.
they're talking college football and just kind of
Right.
scratching and clawing at one
Yeah,
another
I think they were.
every few hours
Yes, for sure. And
when they get hungry.
when they get hungry, and mine wants to take a nap. It's late.
Lots of naps.
Lots of naps. Yeah.
Lots of naps, and
yeah. He said,
yeah.
I could feel him as we were going through this episode, and kind of saying, "Hurry it up, will you guys? A little too much chit chat. Let's get on with it."
Give him some cappuccino tomorrow.
Right, I will.
Okay.
All right. So that wraps up this week's Prognosticus episode. First of the 2025 season. Our predictions are in. The debates are ready to begin, and soon enough, the players are going to settle it all under the Friday Night Lights. So, whether our picks hold up or fall flat, one thing's for sure: this Chicago Catholic League season is going to be filled with drama, surprises, and plenty of Zuko's Dogs of the Week as well. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. And if you're feeling bold, make sure share your predictions with us on our social media. Until next time, I am Joe Frevaletti here with Dan Frevaletti. We are the Varsity Voices Media Network, and we will look forward to talking with you soon.